Good morning, my fellow Africans and the world at large. This is Emmanuel Kwajumensa once again, coming into your homes and your minds with a message of empowerment and enlightenment, all the way from Ontario, Canada. Today is the 13th of June in the year 2022, and the Bible says this is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. And for that matter, I take this opportunity to invite the whole world, any man or woman hearing my voice or listening to me, to join me to give thanks to God for the day that He has granted unto us. And life in general, life is beautiful, life is wonderful, life is glorious, life is God Himself, flowing through all things, including human beings, for His own glory. Today, I am going to speak to you on the topic, there is a spark of divinity in you, determined to ignite it and fan it into flame. I repeat, there is a spark of divinity in you, determined to ignite and flame it into and fan it into flames. This topic, I would like to give credits to my mentor, Robert Collier, the author of the book, The Secret of the Ages. I borrow these words from him. And for that matter, it is befitting for me to pay respect to him. So today, I am going to speak to you the power, the force, the energy, or the God in mankind, the human being. Every human being on earth here has something that is lying in him or her dormant. And it is our responsibility to ignite this powerful force and fan it into flames. If we are able to ignite this spark of life or spark of fire, and that is what the Bible called the breath of life that God has put into every human being, and we fan it, or we will supply it with the needed environment. This fire, this spark in us will grow to become a flame, a powerful flame that consumes all negativities and at the same time transform all impurities into pure and wonderful things in our life. The fire of God in every human being is pure and it's powerful. And this is the fire or the spark of life that it is normally referred to in the Bible or in the Christian world as the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost fire. God has placed a certain spark of life or fire in every human being, but it is our responsibility to ignite it and make it work for us. And so if we go to the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7, we are told that God created Adam, man, and put breath into Adam. And it is the breath of life that quickens Adam's body for him to become a living being. And so I am going to read the words as it is written in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. So today, whatever I am talking to you about is not anything other than this breath of life that God has put into us. God is the most powerful thing, the most powerful force in the whole universe. And for that matter, He individualized Himself into each and every one of us. So He's given us part of His life. Though we stand as individuals, we are not separated from Him. And so long as we come to the realization and we continually acknowledge this fact that there is God in us, there is a spark of life that God has deposited in us that is lying dormant, that we need to ignite it and fan it and help it to grow to become a flame of fire. Then we have the key to life. Then we have the dominion over all difficulties and challenges. For it is God who is working through us to overcome all this or to turn all these things into opportunities, into better life. So, as a human being, you are not just an object passing through this earth. I have been saying this all the time, and it is a mathematical and universal truth. You are a being, and God is the only being, and that is why you are called a human being. All other things are not beings, they are objects, they are things. But as human beings, we are given the right to be called beings, and that is our inheritance that we took from God. You cannot call a goat a being. You cannot call an elephant a being. You cannot call a tree a being. So the human being is the only creation or the creature of God that has been given the rights to be called, or that is being called being. And we inherited this from God, for God is the only being. And that is why we say, whatever God is, the devil is not. God is the only being. And if God is the only being, therefore the devil is not a being. Therefore there is no devil. That is the truth of life. So that is what we are talking about. We are talking about the pure spirit, the pure power of God. You can look at it as a fire. You can look at it as a river. And that is why Jesus Christ spoke about as the river, the river of life flowing through us. That is what God deposited in us. And it is lying in us dormant. And as soon as we become conscious of it and we realize that this is our powers and we begin to call upon it, this power, this fire, today I would like us to refer to it as the spark of fire. This fire will rise up and grow from that little spark to become a raging fire in your life, that every negative thing will be consumed and all material, all impurities will be transformed into pure and wonderful quality life in your existence on earth here. But it is your responsibility to make it work. It is your responsibility to call upon it. So as a human being, there is the power of God in us always seeking expression. So take yourself as a seed that has been deposited in the ground. If you sow a seed and cover it with the soil, the seed begins to quicken. The life principle in it begins to work out and it quickens it. And this seedling turns into something weekly that we see it, and we say it is germinating. And then it pushes out of the soil and then come out of the soil to meet the sun. And that is why it begins to grow. It begins to grow to become a giant tree. And it is the same thing in us. Just as the seedlings, rises out or pushes itself out of the soil to become a giant tree. In the same way, there is something in us, and that is God himself. That seed that God has placed in us, that spark of fire or spark of life that God has put in every human being, is continually seeking expression in us. And when we do not respond to this force, when we do not respond to this power in us, this fire in us, in the way that we are supposed to respond to it, then we create discord. Then we create powerful and a painful and sour life. But this force, this power is to help us to create a flamboyant and a powerful and a wonderful life. So you are not here as a powerless being. You are not shortchanged at birth or at creation. God knew what you needed here as a human being to have a beautiful and a fulfilled life. Therefore, he has created you loaded. And we have to give the right environment, the right conditions for the power of God in us to come out of us and to move mountains. And we can only do this by using our minds and developing the attitude of faith. Developing the attitude of faith, such that we hold on to things without wavering. We don't give up, but we hold on to it, believing that there is a power in us that is moving and pushing us in an upward movement. So there is a spark of life, there is a spark of fire that is in you. And when you fan it, what do you use to fan it? That is faith, positivity. You think only in the positive and believe Believe, negate all things, other things, anything that your five senses are telling you, negate them. But go in faith and believe that the power that quickens your body to move, that quickens your body to do all that you do in life, that power will provide everything in your life to make whatever you are doing a reality. So we are not created powerless. But unfortunately, if you take a pen and paper and you begin to ask men and women, we talk ourselves out of our own realities. We talk ourselves out of our true nature. So when you ask someone, the person will tell you, who am I? I do not have this. I do not have the power. I'm not powerful. I am not this. But no man or woman is born powerless. No woman is born powerless. No man is born powerless. Every one of us is born powerful with equal powers, to dominate and have dominion over everything. But our ability to fan this fire, this spark of divinity in us, to make it work in our advantage is the key. And that is the differences between all men and women in any part that you find yourself or you find human beings. Some people, by nature or accidentally, think and behave in a way that they ignite this force. Sometimes they stumble on it only a period of time, so they get a glimpse of what this power can do for them. And then they revert back to their old state. And therefore, you see some people, they will get a glimpse of success and then they go back. But if they are able to maintain, or if the person is able to maintain that accidental way of life that he stumbled upon and lived in that mode, he will be successful forever, because at that time, he is not the one doing it, but it's the power that God has deposited in us that is moving and working in his or her advantage. So, there are a lot of things that are going on in our lives. There is no man or woman on earth, regardless of our race, that will not complain of one thing or the other. But when you ask people when they are looking for the solution to their problems, where do they think there is a source of solutions to their problems? They will look outside themselves and then look for solutions from outer things. But that is not where it is. There is a source, there is a power, there is a spark of divinity in you. And so long as you are able to connect to this divinity takes up your challenges and work it out. In some, in the Bible in particular, this divinity, this spark of life, is represented as a child. And that is the child the prophet Isaiah spoke of, which represent the birth of Jesus Christ. So when you come to realize what I'm telling you, you come to the realization that you have some powers. You've become awakened to your inner powers. The idea that you have received is like a child, it's like a baby that has come into your life. And it is your responsibility to nurse and nurture this baby and let it grow. And when it grows, it becomes a giant and take up your problems and solve it for you. Just as Mary and Joseph nursed and nurtured Jesus, and then he grew up to take the world's problem and solve it for us. That is the truth of life. Jesus Christ is personified in you as your divinity. And you have to nurse and nurture your own divinity and let it grow, call upon it, and let it work out things for you. But do not always go out with your analytical mind. Do not always go out to work out things with your analytical or academic mind. It will fail you. But when you put a trust in your own divinity, your academic analytic ability will even be quickened and sharpened, such that everything becomes so easy and wonderful for you. Yet the results you bring out will be so wonderful. And that is when people will say, yeah, this man is a genius. This man is so powerful. Yes, they will say that to you because they are ignorant about their own powers. No one is bigger or greater than the other on this earth here, because God does not shortchange himself. If God is to make some people greater and make some people lesser, that means God has shortchanged himself, because every human being is God himself. We are part of the body of God. So, my brother, my sister, today I am bringing this message to you. The good news to you is that stop worrying about all that you are worrying about. Stop demeaning yourself. Stop seeing yourself as a non-entity. Stop seeing yourself as someone who is powerless. Stop seeing yourself as someone who has nothing. There is nothing you can do about your life circumstances. There is more. There is more than what you can do about your life circumstances. And the only way you can do this is to turn to the divinity that is in you. He that is in you is greater than any challenge, any problem that you are facing on this earth. And I keep on hammering this all the time because I want this to sink into your mind, particularly those of us that were born and raised and brought up in Africa. We do not have the concept. We do not have the understanding of what I'm talking about. We do not. We always look for solution to our problems from the outer. And we always look at other people as the source of our problems. No, it is within you. It is within you. And it is a spark of fire. So long as you are not fanning it, it comes dormant. But as soon as you begin to fan it with positive mindset, positivity, you think of only what is good. You think of only what is honorable. You think of only what is that is empowering. Anything that comes to bless mankind, you think about it, you appreciate other people, you celebrate other people's success, you rejoice with people, you do everything. That is when you are pouring, or you are finding the divinity in you, and your divinity grows to take up all your challenges and work it out for you. Life is so easy. Life is it's not complicated, but it seems to be complicated to mankind because we do not know who we are, what we are made of. So today, rise up, my fellow man or woman, whoever you are listening to me, rise up and begin to walk on this earth as a God on earth and taking your rightful place in the universe. Walk and think and do things as a God walking on earth here, working in partnership with God himself. And for that matter, your priority is how to ignite, how to how to grow your spark of fire or your spark of divinity in you, such that this spark of fire will grow to become a giant fire that cleans all things. When you put gold in it, it transforms the gold into a beautiful thing. When you put any minerals in it, that is your thoughts. Whatever you put in, it transforms and makes them beautiful. And then all the chaffs, all the this thing that it consumes them and it consumes all of them. That signs that there will no more be existence in your life. This is what the power of God in us does. The spark of divinity in you. It is your responsibility to call upon it. And once again, I would like to remind you, my fellow Africans, young men and women, men and women, there is something in us always seeking expression. And that thing is God himself in us. Let us embrace this concept. Let us embrace this understanding. God does not live in streets. God does not live in the sky. God does not live outside us. God is within us. And so long as we grow the power of God in us, it grows to become a giant flame of fire that does all things for us, for our enjoyment and for our betterment. That is the truth of life. So rise up, be enlightened, be knowledgeable. The work of God, the power of God, the spark of God, that divinity in you is the source of all your problems and at the same time all your solutions. For it depends on what you are feeding it. You kill it. When you pour on it negativity, that means you no longer have the basis upon which you're supposed to operate on earth here. But if you pour on positivity and all the positive things that you can think of, then you have the flame, expanding in your life. And that means your life is built upon the fire, the divinity that you were given to use on this earth. So every human being here has days. God has never denied anyone. And God has never shortchanged any of us. If it looks as if we've been shortchanged, then it is our responsibility to reevaluate our lives and then seek the truth. As soon as we discover the truth, then a child has been born into our lives. And then that child, when he grows, he takes up all our difficulties upon his shoulders. His government is upon his shoulders. So he takes all your the life situations, life challenges. He takes them and turn all of them into beautiful and wonderful things. That is what the book of chapter about the wonder child in the book of Isaiah means. The wonder child, the child that's been born, is in your life. It's in your life right now. And that is the spark of life. The day you will become conscious of this, that you have this, then that idea becomes a child that as you grow in believing and moving, walking in this direction, then that idea becomes your power upon which you quicken or you awaken your divinity, and your divinity takes everything and work it out for you. So life is not complicated. Life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. But it is for only those who know and understand. So, we are not here to be buffeted. We are not here to be overcome by difficulties and challenges. But we are here to overcome them and then have dominion over them, because we are the individualization. We are the images and the likeness of God. We are the individualization of God himself. So, that is who we are. That is who every one of us are. So do not go about, cease referring to yourself as someone who is a nobody. Cease seeing your life as something that has been given to you by grace. No, your life was given to you because you own it and you earn it. It is a gift from God to you. You are not here as a privilege. It is a divine right for you to exist, because it is God who is existing through you. And therefore, the moment you begin to think of your life as something that has been given to you that you don't deserve, then you are demeaning, you are killing your divinity. You are not actually living as you're supposed to live. You are not here on the privilege. You are not, your existence here is not a privilege. Your existence here is a divine right, because God has put his breath in you. And it is God who is working through you. So your existence is God's existence. And you need to acknowledge it and become one with God. As soon as you are connected with God and you move with God, you move in the direction of God, you work in unison with the Spirit of God, then you become an expanded person. You become a powerful person. You become a recognized person. You become someone who has lived and not just passed through the earth, but you have lived and lived well, and you have touched the minds and the hearts of multitude, the humanity. That is the truth of life. So what are you doing to fan your divinity, the spark of divinity in you? And as I've already stated, those of us that were born and raised in Africa, by our tradition, by the way we were created, we were brought up. We live and walk on this earth as if we do not have anything in us. And all the underdevelopment, the lack of invention, the lack of advancement, the lack of all the things we are seeing on the African continent is as a result of our lack of understanding that there is a divine spark. There's a spark of divinity in us that we need to fan it and own it and make it work for us. And that is our power. That is our authority on earth here. And therefore, we do not access this part of ourselves. We do not access this part of ourselves. And even as I'm speaking right now, I know most Africans, particularly those in the religion, will begin to think that who is this person? What is he saying? How can we say that we are God on earth here? If you cannot say you are God on earth here, then you don't know why you are living on earth here. I'm not saying you are the universal God, but the fact is that we are all gods, and all of us put together, we form the universal God. And that is the truth. And he who does not acknowledge this is the one that is not acknowledging Jesus Christ in public. And that is why Jesus Christ said, if you fail to acknowledge me in public, then I will also disown you before my Father. Yes. So if you are not able to acknowledge the fact, you are not able to acknowledge the fact that your divinity is a Christ in you, and therefore that is who you are, and you disown your own self on earth here and walk as someone who is just like the goat, the sheep, and whatever, that do not have this power in them, then you have disowned your own Christ in you, and he will disown you before your Father. And that is why whatever thing that you think of becomes negative, becomes sour, and your life becomes something that you do not like. This is what the Bible is putting across. Christ in you, the hope of glory. That is the Christ we are talking about. The indwelling Christ. You can call it anything today. I'm only referring to it as the spark of divinity. Divinity, spark of divinity. You can call it indwelling Christ. You can call it Holy Spirit. You can call it anything. But the fact is that it is right within us, waiting for our activation. Any man or woman that will be able to connect to this part of himself, this power that God has deposited in us, and find it with faith, find it with determination, find it with positivity, and go on to dwell on his dreams and aspirations, that person rises to become a giant in the universe, a person that has lived and touched men and women beyond the borders of his own nations. That is the truth of life. So my brothers, my sisters, Africans, we are not poor. We are not created poor. And we are not created powerless. We are not created to be people that people have to come and solve our problem. We are not created corrupt. We are not created with all these things that we are putting on ourselves. But we are creating them upon ourselves because we do not acknowledge, and we do not know. We are ignorant about who we are, and we are failing to acknowledge who we are. You deny yourself. To deny, to believe that you are a God incarnate on this earth means that you are denying yourself. There is a spark of life in you, and this spark of life, this divinity, it responds to your positivity, your positive mental attitude, your positive mental state. Think of only the good, have goals, have ideas. And as you connect with this part of you, this divinity or this spark of fire will supply you with all your ideas, everything that you need in your life. And you see that ideas and dreams begins to spring up in your life, and your life becomes prosperous. And that is when we say God is actually working through you and is expanding in your life, and you're becoming the true glory, our example of the true glory of God flowing through our lives. And that is why Jesus Christ, the spring of life that will flow through our life, the river that has no end. That is the truth of life. So you are not here to suffer. You are not here for you to put yourself in bondage. If you live and you think that when there are forces somewhere that are haunting you, that will actually end your life, that will bring calamities upon your life, then you are denying your divinity. You are quenching this spark of divinity in you, and therefore you will receive all that you are thinking about. But if you become knowledgeable, if you become aware and conscious of this fact that you are made in the image and the likeness of God, there is a divine spark in you, and your only preoccupation is to find this divine spark with positivity, with faith, and walk in that direction. This will become your life, becomes your reality. If you are made and you are created and born a free, independent being, nothing on this earth has control over you. There is nothing like evil spirits that are out here. You attract all these kind of things into your life because you believe and think them. But if you stop thinking and believing in those things, they will not be in your life. It is as simple as that. If it's as simple as that. If you don't want to see them, don't stop thinking about them. If you don't want to see them, don't stop thinking about them. Because whatever you think, you create. That spark of divinity in you will create it for you. God will work through him. God will work through you. God will work through you by what you are supplying to him. So my brothers and sisters, my fellow Africans, I have always been saying, our lives, our everything looks impoverished. Our lives look impoverished. We are not improving our life. Our living condition, everything looks impoverished because we are deserting who we are. We are deserting, or we are refusing to acknowledge, or we are ignorant about who we are. And therefore, we are not acknowledging, we are not accessing the powers that God has deposited in that for our own use and for his own glory. And it is time for us to rise up. Africa needs men and women who stands up and think that they are made free, they are made and born free. Therefore, they are not under any bondage, they are not under the spell of anything, but they are the creators of their own lives. They are the creators of their own lives, and they are creating their own lives all the time. Therefore, whatever negative thing that we are seeing in our life right now, we have the power and ability, by the power of God deposited in us, to turn them into positivity, to turn them into beautiful and wonderful things. And as I told you, or I've already mentioned, the spark of fire. What does fire do? Fire refines things. Take the gold that's through fire. It becomes pure, it becomes beautiful, it becomes pure gold. And in the same way, whatever thing that is in your life, if you ignite, or if you begin to find this divinity, this spark of fire in you, and you allow that fire to grow to do all the refinement activity in your life, you will see your life moving from poor and sour life into a beautiful, a flamboyant, and a beautiful life. This is how life is created. We create our own realities, good or bad. Believe it or not, that is the truth. And this is the time that you have to rise up, my fellow Africans. Every man or woman on the African continent, everyone, this is the time that we have to embrace the new mindset. This is not a new mindset, but for us, it's a new mindset. This is the time the African has to rise up to declare that I am a God on earth here. Therefore, I am redefining my life. I am recreating my life. I am recreating my life the way I want it. We are creating an Africa. We are creating a continent. We are creating nations the way we want it, by the power and the divinity in us. And that is when we rise up. We rise up, all of us. Then we build our nations by our positive mindedness. And then when we connect to this divinity in us, ideas, inventions, all the things that all other people have done will begin to spring through us, because we are now working on earth here and working as we are supposed to be. And as I've mentioned the other time, a car is made to travel on land, on the road. But if you take the car and put it on the river, it will sink. In the same way, you are made to live and think in a certain way. That is positivity. To think only in the good and be in alignment with God. That means having your spirit, the power that God has put in you, calling upon it and living by it, and always make it work out things for you. But as soon as you put yourself in a different mentality, that's the negative mentality, then you are like a car that has been put on the river. The car will sink. And that is why in your life, nothing appears to work for you. You are sinking in life. On the river of life, you are sinking. And this is the time that you have to be awakened. Be your own car owner, and then move yourself from the river, and then put yourself on the ground, and you see that you begin to move as you are intended to be. That is the truth of life. So there is a spark of life. There is the divinity in every human being, and Africans will have it. We do not have to go and buy it. We do not have to beg it. We do not have to ask for anyone to give us. The only thing we need is for us to accept the truth and become conscious of who we are. Be mindful of the fact and accept the truth that you are God incarnate. You are God living on earth here in an earthly body. Therefore, God works through you, and therefore you will determine, you will purpose in your life to only fan the flame that is already deposited in you, with all that is pure, with all that is good, with all that is that comes to empower your life and all the people around you. And that is what the Bible speaks of, that whatever is pure, whatever is just, whatever is honorable, whatever is befitting, whatever, meditate. Think and meditate upon these things. And that is what your life is supposed to be organized upon. Whatever thing that is good for mankind, whatever thing that is good for you, only meditate on these things in faith that you are communing with your divinity, and that power, the God in you, will take it and work it out for you. The God has never disappointed any man. If God has disappointed you and I, then one day you will wake up and all your functions may not be working. But the fact is that there has never been a day that you wake up and none of your functions, every of your functions will be working. Even if you are sick, it's just something that you have done. That is your own creation. If God is to disappoint us, one day we'll wake up and there is no sun. If God is to disappoint us, one day we'll wake up and there is chaos on our earth. But it has never happened. And it is the same thing in your life. Nothing is against you. Nothing is against you. And God will never disappoint you. Everything is working in your favor. You are set up for success. Therefore, my fellow African, wherever you are, whoever you are, let us rise up. Let us rise up and take this the new mental attitude, positive mental attitude that we are made and we are created and born in the image of God, in the image and the likeness of God. Therefore, we will no longer go against our divinity. We will no longer go asking people for help. We will no longer asking people for use things. We will no longer asking for loans. We will no longer do the things that we are doing, but we're going to call upon our God. We're going to give our God, the divinity, the spark of life or the spark of fire in us. We're going to fan it from our side such that, this fire will grow to do wonders in our lives. Corruption, all the things that is embedded in African societies, all these things are quenching the spark of divinity in us. All the things that we do, we see that we are fighting, and sometimes people have to come from somewhere to tell us that these things are no good and we have to fight again. This is how we quench the fire in us. And this is the time we have to take deliberate action. We have to do the deliberate move to release ourselves and become independent. When I talk of independent African, I'm not talking of we getting freedom from British or French or whatever, but I'm talking of you getting the freedom from your own mental bondage, from our own mental bondage. Africa is poor. Africa is underdeveloped. Africa is what it is because of our own mental bondage. We have put ourselves in mental bondage by our own tradition, by our own practices, and we need to liberate ourselves. And that is what Marcus Garvey actually wrote about, and Bob Marley sang, that emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can do this for ourselves. None can do this for us, but we have to do it for ourselves. We have to emancipate yourself. And the first point of emancipating yourself is the acknowledgement that you are God on earth here. You are God incarnate. My fellow Africans, you will not die. There's nothing that will happen to you, but you only become a prosperous and a powerful person when you accept the idea, when you accept the truth that you are God on earth here. You are God incarnate. Therefore, God is working and passing through you all the time. The Spirit of God, the power of God is working through you and to you, from you to. So it's a circular loop. You are never disconnected from God, though you are an individual, living on a separate level. You have never been disconnected from God. It is your acknowledgement that makes the difference. You are living as if you are disconnected from God because you do not have the understanding. And now the knowledge and understanding has come to you. You are God on earth here. I repeat this several times so that it will sink into your mind. There is nothing for you to be afraid of. There is nothing for you to be afraid of on this earth. You are created and born as the image and the likenesses of God. You are created and born free. You are created and born as independent person. Therefore, think independent and act independent, walk independent, live independent of anything, because anything that comes to you is your own creation. No one is hurting you. Whatever any man or woman does on this earth will not hurt you. Let us begin to, liberate ourselves one by one from this. And as we do this, our minds will come to the point that we'll be connected with God. Then ideas, inventions, all these things will spring forth in our mind, and it will litter our land. It will litter our cities. It will be all over Africa. God is always ready. God is always ready to come to our rescue. He's lying within every one of us, only waiting for our calling, only waiting for us to acknowledge Him, only waiting for us to acknowledge Him. So, Africans, my fellow Africans, today and onwards, you have the power to liberate yourself. So, begin the process right now. You are a God on earth here. God is working through you. God, you are in partnership with God. Therefore, take your rightful place. A God cannot be haunted by evil spirits. A God cannot be haunted by witches. A God cannot be thwarted by anyone, because God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscience. There is no power other than the power of God. Therefore, believe in it. Believe in it. Just believe in it. Believe in it. And believe that it is the Spirit of God that has individualized itself into you. And that is why you are called an individual. And don't also forget, you are called a human being, because God is the only being. And since He is the only being and we are His individualization, we are also being. We are also being. And that's the meaning. So today, the message has come to you, my fellow Africans. The time has come that we will rise up and take our rightful place in the universe. And this cannot be done by what we are doing. It cannot be done by what we are doing. We will only have to do this first. We have to acknowledge who we are and begin to work with our divinity. And then whatever we are doing as academics or whatever will become meaningful. Will become meaningful to us. Will bring progress. Will bring success. God is the power. God is the only presence. God is the only cause. God is the only power upon which all things are made. Therefore, let us rise up. Let us rise up. Let us be bold in our mind. Let us be bold in our mind. And every morning, rise up and declare to yourself that I am God on earth. And I am in partnership with my Father. Therefore, whatever my Father has, I have. Whatever my Father does, I do it as well. Therefore, I am the creator of my own realities. And I have the power to choose what to think and not to think. Therefore, I choose positivity. I choose faith. I choose what is good and I neglect what is negative. I do not look at what my five senses are telling me, but I look at what I know and I believe I have from within me. For who is the one that is within me is greater than all that is happening in the negative. Then you walk in this universe. You walk in this world as a determined, as a powerful, as a knowledgeable, as someone who has power and dominion over his own circumstances. That is what we call you have power. This is what we call domination. To dominate the world. To dominate the world is in the mind. It's in the mind, and you have to acknowledge it. God is the only one that has dominion over all things. And since we are gods on earth here, we have to acknowledge it and accept it. Until we accept it, it will not be a reality in our life. That is the truth of life. So today, my fellow Africans, whoever you are, whatever you call yourself, whatever you do, from presidents to the lowest person in the land, in any part of Africa, from anyone, this is the time for us to rise up. And this is the time we have to embrace the truth and begin to walk on this earth as the true images and the likenesses of God, and begin to, do everything that is necessary to keep the flame of divinity that is in us, the spark of divinity in us. We flame it, we fan it into flames. And when the flame is on, it becomes a raging flame. Then all the good things, everything that we are looking for will be created in our life seamlessly, effortlessly, powerfully. And Africa will be a continent that is enlightened, a continent that is powerful, a continent that is soaring with all other continents, nations that are soaring with other nations, such that corruption, all this kind of debilitating things that we see in our life will fade away. And that is when we sing our collective prayer. And God shall wipe away all these things. God shall wipe away all the pain, all the suffering that we are seeing on the African continent. The new Africa has arrived, and the old Africa has disappeared. And all the things that's associated with the old Africa is gone. And the new Africa, which is pure, which is built upon our divinity, the true nature, the pure spirit of God, is now soaring, and all men and women anywhere are coming to us to live amongst us on the African continent as a take. It should be a burden on every African, wherever you are, that at this point, it is something that we need to think of, that why are other people not coming to live on our land? And that is what should be a burden on every African. And if it becomes a burden on you, then you have to accept what I am presenting to you, and together we're going to create a new Africa that is a multiracial, a diverse Africa. That is my message for you. And as I always do, may the overshadowing presence of God that keeps the stars from falling upon us and keeps the planets in their orbits such that they do not clash with one another, keep you, lead you, and direct you, and give you an open mind and a receptive heart, such that this message will ignite the divinity in you, or will open your minds and your eyes, that you begin to seek to find the divinity in you, such that you become a dominant, a powerful force in the universe. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Kweju-Mensah. I am a co-founder of the Eagle Mentality Group. At Eagle Mentality Group, we dedicate our time, our resources, our everything to the teaching and the propagation of the power of the subconscious mind and the universal laws and principles that governs the whole universe. It is our dream to raise a new Africans, a new crop of Africans that think, do things in a different way, in alignment with the laws of the universe and our own being, such that we will create a new Africa, the new Africa that the world has all the time longed to see. And the whole world will rejoice in chorus for the appearance of the new Africa. And that is a multiracial and a diverse Africa. Thank you, and God bless you.